Welcome to this training where we're going to discuss how you can bounce back from failure. So let's get started. When we're discussing how to bounce back from failure, the key word is resilience. To be resilient means that you have the ability to recover quickly from a setback. So you're going to recover quickly from making that mistake. This means you cannot dwell on the past. And then a phrase that I really think sums up being resilient is fail fast. Fail fast is something my mom used to always tell me when I was playing baseball, and it's something now I really encourage my clients to take on, and that is this idea that you need to be able to move on from a mistake very quickly. Doesn't mean you have to be running when you make a mistake, but it just means being able to let the mistake go, not carry it into the next play, and especially not carry it into the next game. In order to be resilient, it really comes from changing the way that you're going to look at failure. So right now, you probably look at failure like it's a disappointment. A lot of the athletes that I talk to, they say failure means I'm not good enough. Failure makes me feel really negatively about myself. And I get that. It's very understandable because for the longest time, we've seen it as either winning or losing. But what you need to realize is that it doesn't need to be as black and white as that. Failure does not mean you're a failure. It doesn't mean you're a disappointment. And it all comes from being able to change the way that you view failure. So instead of viewing failure as this definite thing, meaning if you make a mistake during a game, you suck, or if you lose this game, or if you don't have a really good season, that you're just terrible, how should you look at it? When you experience failure, you can either look at it and learn from it, or you can allow it to debilitate you. This means you can either learn from failure, or you can let this failure tear down your confidence, make you feel very negatively about yourself, and then just ultimately ruin your performance, right? It's the whole example of making one mistake at the beginning of practice or at the beginning of the game, and then allowing that to trickle down into you just having a bad practice or a bad game, pretty much only because of that one bad mistake that you had. Instead, the way that I encourage you view failure is as a learning experience, and that's really what this whole training is going to be about. How can you begin looking at failure as a learning experience and being able to be more resilient and bounce back from that failure in the future? In order to be more resilient, what you're going to do is, like I just said, view failure as a learning experience. And then you want to make sure that you don't view this failure as a personal defeat. Then you want to be grateful for failure, then always keep going after a failure. So always make sure that you keep going after a mistake. So let's go deeper into each one of these areas. So number one is to view failure as a learning experience. What does it mean to view failure as a learning experience? Well, in all honesty, there's no better teacher than making a mistake. When you make a mistake, whether it's in a game or whether it's in practice, this shows you areas within your game that you can improve. If you view this mistake, if you view failures as a definite thing that is going to tear down your confidence, you're not going to be able to actually improve moving forward. When you look at failures objectively and as a way to learn, that's a way that you can take this thing that was normally a negative situation, a mistake, and you can actually learn from it by asking yourself, okay, what happened? Why did I make that mistake? And most importantly, what can I improve upon moving forward? Next is that you want to make sure that you don't view failure as a personal defeat. What do I mean by not viewing failure as a personal defeat? Well, whenever failure is present, you have to try your best to view it objectively. I just said this when it was coming to viewing it as a learning experience. In order to view failure as a learning experience, you have to view it objectively. What does this mean to view it objectively? Well, to view failure objectively means you view it separate from yourself, which in all reality it is. But a lot of times what happens is when we make a mistake, we tie ourselves up into it, which is why we feel negative. We feel down on ourselves after we make a mistake. But in truth, the mistake happened. You have to look at that objectively, not take it personally. Don't say that it's a personal defeat. Then that is going to allow you the mindset that you need to actually learn from that mistake. You can't learn from a mistake if it is directly impacting the way that you feel in that moment. If it is tearing you down, making you feel less confident, making you feel frustrated, just getting overwhelmed with these emotions, it's going to be very difficult in that situation to actually learn from this mistake. But if you train yourself and really work on viewing this mistake, viewing the failure objectively, then you're actually going to be able to ask yourself the questions that you need to ask yourself in order to learn and improve from that mistake moving forward. Next is going to be grateful for failure. Now, this is a funny one because why would we want to be grateful for failure? But when you begin to really accept the first two, when you begin to really accept that failure is a learning experience, and then when you begin to accept that I can look at failure objectively. I don't have to take it as a personal defeat. Then you can take on number 3, which is really being grateful for failure. You see that failures are necessary. Mistakes are positive if you look at them the right way, because they provide you with insight into how to improve your game. Without these mistakes, you're going to stay the same. You're not going to be able to improve. You're not going to know your weaknesses. Failure needs to be something that you're grateful for, because failure is going to show you the areas within your game you can improve. But on top of that, each time you fail, if you learn from it, you know deep down that you're that much closer to the success that you actually want. And then lastly, number 4 is that you always want to make sure you keep going after a failure. This means pick yourself up, accept the failure, and begin to move forward in the right direction. After you make a mistake, let's talk about this like if it's a game, for example. If you make a mistake in a game, when I'm saying always make sure that you keep going after a failure, this can be as simple as telling yourself to refocus on the next play or refocus back in the present moment. You want to make sure that you keep going, you're keeping moving forward, because what usually happens is you begin dwelling on that mistake, and so you're not moving forward. Yeah, you might continue to play the game, but your mind is still stuck in the past, dwelling on that mistake. So instead, when you make a mistake, when you fail during a game, pick yourself up and really make sure you keep going, push yourself to move forward, and in doing so, that's going to help you let go of that mistake. And then after the game, maybe you can go back and you can ask yourself the questions that you need to really figure out how you can improve from that mistake and really learn from that failure. When we're talking about this on a scale of a game, for example, if you have a game where you make a mistake or a game that you see as a failure, then you want to make sure that next week you keep going. You put yourself back in the situation, put yourself back in the position to practice. You make sure that your mindset is focused on the next game, and you do not dwell on that past game any longer than you need to really ask yourself the questions of how can I improve, what can I learn from that game. But then make sure that you get yourself moving forward and you're not dwelling on it, you're not holding on to that mistake, you're not holding on to that bad game, because all that's going to do is carry with you into your next game and just lower your performance moving forward. So these are the 4 ways that you can really work on being more resilient. But if I had to break it down into one simple sentence, it would be to always make sure that you're learning from your mistakes. If you always make sure that you're learning from your failures and your mistakes, that's going to help you fail fast. That's going to help you be more grateful for failure. And that's going to help you make sure that your sights are set on the future and you're continuing moving forward after you make a mistake. Thank you for watching this training. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps us out. And also, I put out 2 new trainings each week, so it's going to keep you updated on the newest mental game and sports psychology trainings to help you build a championship mindset. Now, in the description below, I have a link to a free training that I've created that walks you through an exercise that shows you how you can develop your own championship mindset, meaning what is the exact specific mindset that you need to perform your best on a consistent basis. So go ahead and click that link and take that free training for yourself. Thank you for watching, and I wish you the best of success in all that you do.